14, we focused on the president and his immediate office, but the executive branch of the government is the largest branch of our government, primarily because of the massive federal bureaucracy that it oversees, a word that I can neither pronounce or spell. Anyway, so let's talk about this. The classic conception of a bureaucracy, which comes from the sociologist Max Weber, is a hierarchical authority structure that uses task specialization and operates on the merit principle and behaves impersonally. So let's make sure we understand each element of this. Hierarchical means that there's a clear order in terms of who's at the top of the chain of command all the way on down. And bureaucracies are organized like this. The military, for example, is a bureaucracy, and you have clear ranks. The Catholic Church is a bureaucracy, and you can go all the way from the parishioner to the priest to the bishops to the cardinals to the pope. And any bureaucracy, when you go to get your driver's license renewed, or if you're dealing with unemployment insurance or a regulatory agency, it'll be the same way. There'll be a clear structure of command. There's also going to be task specialization. People are given one particular job, and they're expected to do that job. They are not generalists. They focus on one thing, just like in all those other organizations I just mentioned. Theoretically, they operate on merit, so those who are best at their job will move up, and those who aren't very good at their job will probably end up not being there very long. And finally, it should be impersonal. When you go to deal with the bureaucracy, it shouldn't care who you are. If it does, that's not a well-functioning bureaucracy. When I go down to get my driver's license renewed or deal with a traffic ticket, they really don't care who I am. It's the same process for every person who comes through. Bureaucracies govern all modern states, not just America, but all over the world. And you deal with them all the time. So let's talk about some myths about bureaucracies. One myth is that Americans dislike bureaucrats. Polling has shown this is not true at all, that generally Americans are fairly satisfied with the level of service and the type of help they get from bureaucrats they interact with. Bureaucracies are growing bigger each year. Not the federal bureaucracy. In fact, we're going to see that relative to the population, it's actually shrinking. Although people love to complain about it. Bureaucracies are funny. Most of the time we deal with them, they work just fine. But then that one time we deal with them and they don't work, and that colors our opinion of them generally. We ignore the 99 times everything went smoothly, and we only remember that one time when it didn't work the way we wanted it to. Another myth, most federal bureaucrats work in Washington, D.C., which is completely untrue. Only about 12% do. There are bureaucrats working for the federal government in every city in the country, in every town in the country. Wherever you are, even if you're not in D.C., you can find plenty of people working as bureaucrats for the federal government. Another myth is that bureaucracies are ineffective, inefficient, and always mired in red tape. No more so than private business. If you're not old enough to have had a lot of interaction with bureaucracy in the government or in business, find somebody who is and ask them. I promise you they get just as mad at their cable company or their cell phone company as they do the court or the school or whoever it is they're dealing with. And more to the point, think of a better way to service 300 million people, and I'm sure you can get that implemented. Good luck with that. As I mentioned earlier, as a percentage of the population, the federal bureaucracy is actually shrinking. The number of federal bureaucrats has remained at below about 3 million people and actually declined slightly since 1965, while the population, of course, has more than doubled or almost doubled in that time. So as a percentage, it's less than half of what it was in, say, 1965. Where bureaucracy is actually growing is in the state and local governments. This is something that doesn't match up with the conversation you hear on the talking heads on TV. But the reality is the growth of government, big government, is actually at the state and local levels, not at the federal levels. And you can see where they work. You can pause and look over this chart. But one of the first things you'll notice that included in those bureaucrats are 2/3 of 677,000 military personnel. So even among that 3 million or so personnel, once you take out the military, it's a little over 2 million, and then once you take out the post office from that, it's really only about 1.5 million, or less than 1.5 million. And so those are probably two areas we don't necessarily think of as a bureaucracy, but there they are. And then another 250,000 is Veterans Affairs. So if you just look at military functions here, it's over 1 million of those 3 million. Who are they? Well, the average age this is an interesting chart. The average age is 47 years old. About 43% are college graduates, and of course, since it's a hierarchy, those who have college degrees are going to be in the higher levels of the hierarchy, whereas the lower levels would be populated by people who didn't graduate from college generally. It's more male than female, which is interesting because the population, of course, is more female than male. It's about a third minority and about 68% white, which is about what the country is. The country is, in the 2010 census, was 66% white. And this is data from 2006. It'd be interesting to see if where we're at today. It appears to more or less mirror the ethnic and racial diversity of America.